So nobody predicted me ever stopping with the whole home theater thing. Even though I said I was done, even though I said the room was done, here we are. I upgraded the center channel speaker in my home theater. But is it really an upgrade? So prior to this new DM30 Definitive Technology speaker, I had the CS9080, which was Definitive Technology's previous flagship center channel speaker. Very similar in spec. Obviously, this new DM30 has more drivers, has 4 5.25-inch drivers instead of 2. Obviously, the reason why I decided to upgrade the speaker was the fact that it's just a physically bigger speaker. It would actually look better in this massive room, 21 and change foot wide room. And you know, the center channel speaker that I had, although very big for a center channel speaker, you know, looked a little small in this room. When Definitive Technology announced the DM30, I was intrigued. I almost forked down the entire, you know, their asking price for the speaker. I think the MSRP is $1,500. I bought mine refurbished for about $800, so close to 50% off, and comes with a two-year warranty, so I'm pretty happy. I've had relatively good luck with Definitive Technology speakers. Most of the issues that I've had were with the amplifiers. I've had to replace 2 amplifiers. In fact, my old CS9080, I actually replaced the amplifier on that, and still works fine. It's in my office now, and it's really it looks really cool in there. It's way bigger than the rest of the speakers in my office, but the center channel speaker is like one of the most important speakers in your system, so you know. But right now I believe that this DM30 does go well in here. It does play well with the rest of the speakers. It's supposed to be timbre matched with the rest of the Definitive Technology products, and you know, honestly, I can't tell the difference. So let's go back in time a little bit and let's just unbox this thing and set it up. Yeah, I know. I said I was done, and as many people have said in the comments, you're never done, and I really do think this is it for the foreseeable future. And I actually did, you know, when Definitive announced their new speaker line, the Dymension series, I was intrigued by the center channel because a lot of, you know, since I have a much bigger room now, this room is over 21 feet wide, I thought the larger center channel would actually look better in this room. And I feel like it would go, you know, and obviously the center channel speaker is arguably the most important speaker in your home theater. So, and not to say that this is like, I think this is the CS9080, fantastic center channel. Definitive's previous like flagship center channel speaker has the 8-inch subwoofer built in, has a passive radiator, has the you know, mid tweeter, mid array in the front, and it's been fantastic, and it's actually worked really well in this room. A lot of people commented and thought that this is a very small center channel speaker. This is actually a pretty big center channel speaker. It's just the room is huge. But, you know, obviously when you're into home theater, it's hard to stop, you know. Just got the Dymension DM30, which is like the newest flagship Definitive Technology center. I'm not changing any other speakers. I'm hoping that it's going to timbre match well because these speakers are slightly older. These are 8080 STs, and all the other speakers are slightly older. The website said that, you know, that the speaker timbre matches well with all their other speakers. So I'm hoping for the best. So let me get this thing out of the box and check it out. Oh, one more thing I want to note. I was never the biggest fan of this like silver like accents on it, so that's another reason for me to want to upgrade, because I like the full black aesthetic of the new center. So I'm gonna put them next to each other real quick, and let's get this thing open. You know, nobody gets really excited about like a new center channel speaker, but I certainly do, because I know that center channel speakers are like, you can almost say like the backbone of your system. A lot of people say that it's bass. You don't want to get the bass right. About 95% of the dialogue in a movie comes from the center channel speaker. If you actually want to hear and understand what's going on, you got to get a really good center channel speaker. And obviously the CS9080 that I already had was a fantastic center channel speaker. But when I saw that they announced this new huge center channel speaker, I was always intrigued by it. I wanted to check it out. and potentially upgrade my current center. And wow, that is huge. I think this is, wow. This thing is enormous, and I actually opened the box upside down. So this thing weighs 54 pounds. It's huge. The one that I'm replacing, the old center, is 36 pounds. I'm really hoping that the bracket that's on the wall is gonna hold it real good. If not, that's not gonna be good. But I'm gonna put it on it and see how it does. If not, I'll have to figure out another way to do this later on. Wow, this is huge. This thing is enormous. I mean, it almost looks like a tower. It almost looks like a tower speaker. I'm gonna set it down. It's very heavy. Probably doesn't look very big in the video, but it is huge. And it actually comes in a bag. So it's in a plastic bag within a bag. And I should note that I just want to tell you how much I paid for this thing. I did not pay full retail as I normally do. I usually try to get good deals on stuff, and this actually got it refurbished. On accessories for less, I paid 800 bucks. Normal retail is 1,500 bucks for this speaker. So about 47% off, give or take. You know, I've had pretty good luck with buying definitive refurbished products. You know, their customer service is fantastic. And I actually did look at the warranty. The amount of warranty you get for buying brand new is you get 5 years and then 3 years for the amp. And with this, I get 2 years. So it's like, you know, and right now they're actually having a sale. If you did want to buy it brand new, you could buy it for about, I think, $1,050 for now. It's on sale, like if I wanted to buy it brand new. But I was thinking, I'm gonna be paying $250 for a 1 year extended warranty, when all I'm really concerned about is the amp failing. Because, you know, amps tend to fail before a speaker is gonna fail. You really have to push a speaker hard to make it fail. I've had plenty of definitive speakers and they've all worked out quite well. I'm not really concerned. It looks brand new. It looks brand new. So I'm gonna take the old speaker out and I'm gonna put them next to each other and sort of go over both real quick. And then I'll install it and hope that my bracket can hold the thing. I'm really hoping. I think it's meant to hold up to 100 pounds. And this is like about half that, but we'll see. Man, this thing is heavy. So as you can see, let me zoom out a little. You can see that the new DM30 completely dwarfs the CS9080. Not that, like I said, not that the old speaker was a slouch. It was fantastic. Still had the 8-inch sub. This also has an 8-inch sub. It has 2 passive radiators. This one only had 1. So, which is better when you're using passive radiators. At the very least, you're supposed to double the amount of cone area that your active sub has. That's like typically how it usually works. This has 4 5.25-inch drivers and 1 tweeter in the middle. This one has only 2 5.25-inch drivers and 1 tweeter in the middle. These are both powered with amps. You're gonna need to provide power to them. As you can see, I got a power receptacle right there because I always had the intention of using one of these things. I think it's gonna be a nice fit for, you know, my for the room. It's actually gonna look more menacing and more. I think it looks great. I think it actually matches a lot better with my 8080 STs over there. Like the aesthetic, it's like a better fit. Like I said, I love the performance of this old one, but I never really liked the silver trim, you know, and I don't know if this actually, the D lights up. I remember the D lights up with that. You can actually turn that off. You don't have to have the D light up. I don't know if this has an LED light, which is fine. I don't need to have the LED light. And, but let's go check out the amps, and then I'm just gonna install this thing, and then I'll give you my opinion later on. There's the CS9080 amp. You got a volume knob. There's an LEF input, speaker input, level inputs, and there's the power receptacle. It's a very similar amp from what it looks like here, except the binding posts are a different color. These are like more of a silver color. The others are gold. I'm gonna set this to 12 o'clock. And there, I mean, it looks pretty much like the same amp. You know, the amp is offset here, except, I guess they're offset in both, but it's just a more pronounced offset to the right or to the left. Similar here, but there's just so much more real estate of speaker back there. I don't know if you can see that, but the passive radiator on the 9080 is, you can sort of see the outline is bigger. You can see the speaker there, but if you look at the new one, you may not be able to see it too well. You probably can't tell, maybe a little bit, but so the passive radiators on the new one, there's two of them, and the sub is right in the middle, but they're smaller passive radiators than the old one. So maybe the surface area is about the same, given that the passive radiator, you can see it's like you sort of see it there. It's like, it's a bigger surface area. Maybe it's a little bigger. Yeah. Don't know why they decided to do that, to put two smaller passive radiators. In fact, they probably should have gone with bigger, but you know, I'm not a sound engineer or anything. So I'm going to have to trust that they know what they're doing. Anyway, let me get this thing up on my, I mean, it's strong. I think it shouldn't have a problem holding it, but we might be approaching the limits of my bracket. But let me get this on and see if I hear any creaking sounds or if there's too much sag. Here's the moment of truth. Man, this thing is heavy. Okay. I'm not concerned at taking it like a champ. All right, let me get this thing plugged in, and then we'll go from there. So in case you were interested in seeing where I put the CS9080, it's actually in my office now. I used to have a tiny little center channel speaker, in here, and now I have this massive center channel speaker in here, which, fits okay, and it is a little close to the receiver, yeah, but I did plan on using it in here now. This is absolutely anchoring this system that consists of, a bunch of, satellites, basically. So it's a little overkill, not gonna lie, but it's, I think it looks great. If you're gonna have a speaker that's like bigger than all the others, the center's not a bad candidate. A lot of people say that it's better to have all the front stage to be the same speaker. A lot of people can't do that, but you do what you can with what you got. I already listened to it, it sounds great. I installed the new center, and I gotta say, I feel like it fits the room right, but I'm not entirely sure why Definitive Technology decided to change the color of the speaker material of this, mesh, or the fabric or whatever that covers the speaker, because it's not an exact match to my other speakers now. So it sort of stands out. So I know, I went from the old center channel that had like the silver trim here on the sides here but the fabric matched my other speakers perfectly. Now this one sort of stands out a little bit. Obviously, this is a fantastic center. I've already watched 2 movies with it, and I think it's really great, but I just needed to point that out. So if you're trying to buy the center to go with your older Definitive Technology speakers, it's going to be a little off. Does that bother me? Is it a deal breaker? For a second I did think that it might have been a deal breaker, but it's just, I feel like it does fit the room better. The fact that it's just a bigger center just works better in this massive, 21-foot room. I can probably put in an image of how it used to look, and now it almost, the thing is, it's almost like having a tower speaker sideways, and it's definitely an upgrade. But when the lights are down, you really don't notice it as much. I'm going to shut off the lights in here. Yeah, so you shut off the lights, you can barely tell the difference. You can't tell the difference when the light is down. Obviously, when all the lights are down, you're not going to see anything. There's going to be absolutely no difference. So I think overall, and does it match so I was concerned about timbre. Let me turn on the lights again. So after watching a couple of movies with this thing, I can say that the timbre is a match to my 8080 SD towers, which are 2 generations old now, compared to the center channel speaker, compared to the last center channel speaker that was 1 generation old, and it was the CS9080. Now this is the DM30. It's a substantially bigger center channel speaker. So you have to have a lot of room. Thankfully, this is sort of like in a floating bracket, so it sort of works with my room. And I was concerned about the weight, but it seems to be holding okay. Now, obviously it's going to shake a little bit, but you know, if I try to move it from the back, it doesn't move very much. So more of the weight's going to be in the back because I have it at a slight angle going up. So it's like slightly angled to get, you know, a little more to kind of go over the first row of seats. So I have it at a slight angle, so more of the weight's going to be towards the back, which is where it's strongest, of course. So I'm now going to test the seat-to-seat consistency in the back, specifically in the back row. As you can see, I'm mirroring what's on the screen here. I'll be shutting off all the speakers that I can on the Anthem GUI, like app or GUI, and then I'll just be unplugging the front speakers, because I believe you got to keep those on by default, just to leave the center channel on by itself. So I'm going to be measuring all 5 seats and see, you know, what kind of drop off you get. Probably mostly in the treble range, but yeah, let's see how this goes. So this is the first time I've done it, but I'm actually doing a near field measurement too, just to show you what that looks like. So let's see what it looks like. I just did the back row. I may do a near field. I'm going to do near field here, and then I'm going to do the center in the front row just to combine, you know, to see what kind of treble drop off I'm getting towards the back row. So let's go over some measurements that I took of my CS9080 and my new DM30 center channel speakers. I don't know how much you guys like, you know, when I take measurements, but I just wanted to compare and contrast what these center channels sound like. The CS9080 was Definitive Technologies' flagship center channel speaker. Now it's been replaced by the DM30, which is the new center channel speaker. I just wanted to take measurements of both and see what they sound like. I took all these measurements on the same day, except for some other measurements that I'll show you a little later. But let's just go ahead and take a look. I did measure. So this is like a full frequency response of the CS9080 at negative dB on my Anthem. This is the frequency response of the CS9080, and this is the frequency response of the DM30 after I tweaked the bass out, because obviously, as you can tell, the CS9080 has a little bit more lower end bass here. You can see probably at around, you know, let me see, around 43 hertz. It does roll out. It does give you a little bit more bass to about maybe 35 dB, up to about 35 hertz, and then it, you know, drops down. So to be fair, the DM30 is rated at 41 hertz, and the CS9080 is rated at 24 hertz, which is it's pretty you know, as you can see, this is taken in my room. It's very possible that in a near field measurement, which I did not do, you might be able to get 24 hertz at -6 or something dB, but you know, given this is my in-room measurement and this is what I got, so in my room you're getting maybe about 35 hertz at about 80 dB, which is that's pretty usable bass at that point. But you know, the DM30 is not a slouch. You could say that the Definitive Technology rated the bass for the DM30 you know, more accurately. But as far as like the full frequency response, they're pretty comparable. This is like my file. I dialed in the bass at about 1230 on the knob in the back to sort of get the bass to match up with the CS9080 as best as possible. As you can see, they're a pretty close match. It's where after the crossover point of the subwoofers where it gets a little different, you know, you can see some differences. I'm highlighting the CS90 right now, and you can see that there's obviously these speakers are very flat. There's a little, I would say the DM30 has a little more mid-range up here between, like, I don't know, 1500 to about 4000 hertz. But the CS90 has a bit of a bump here in the treble. You know, that may be a benefit. That could be a benefit to, you know, for seat to seat consistency. So it might give you that extra boost of treble might be a good thing as far as, like, you know, like giving you a good amount of treble on a wider range of seats. But then again, they're, you know, these speakers are pretty darn flat. So I did also take some measurements of just bass. Let me just uncheck these and let's just look at the bass of the CS9080, just really quick. So this is the bass of this CS9080. This is at 12 o'clock. So this is DM30's bass at 12 o'clock as well. As you can see, a little less bass. We already knew that, but pretty comparable. The CS9080 was sort of like pitched as sort of, you could use it as an extra subwoofer if you wanted to. That's why they had the LFE connector in the back, which allows you to plug it into your receiver to use it as an extra subwoofer. They moved away from that with the DM30. They're not giving you the LFE input anymore because, you know, this is a center channel speaker, and it's meant to be used as a center channel speaker. I crossed over the DM30 at 50 hertz. I crossed over the CS9080 at 40 hertz. So it doesn't really matter in my opinion. They're both fantastic center channel speakers. So as far as the DM30 is concerned, I was wondering how far would I need to go with the volume knob to get it to match the bass of the CS9080, and I took it to about 3 o'clock on the little bass control knob in the back. Gave me about, you know, probably usable bass extension to about 38 hertz or so. So it ended up exceeding its rating, as you can see. But obviously, when you took the full frequency response at that level, you end up with sort of like it goes from sort of flat, and then it just gets a huge boost in the bass. You know, that's not it's not how I would do it. So the way I left it, the way I ended was I wanted to have it, you know, pretty balanced, because I'm not using this as a subwoofer or anything. I wanted it to be a center channel speaker, so I landed on 1230, which gave me pretty good result. As you can see, this is, you know, it's still sort of boosted at the bass level, but it's not crazy. You know, probably setting it to 12 o'clock would be even better, but I think 1230 is fine. Gives me a little bit of boost in the bass, and it's not a crazy deviation from the rest of the frequency response. So let me show you a few more measurements that I took. So I also took a number of measurements to measure seat-to-seat consistency. This is a measurement at -20 dB. This is my sweet spot. This is my main listening position. It is the center seat in my back row. As you can see, the response is very flat. So this is the mid-right back row. This sort of gives you an idea of what you can expect. As you can see, the bass went down a little bit, and the treble actually went up a little bit towards the top end, but the results were pretty consistent again. And then this is the far right seat in my theater. As you can see, the very top end of the treble went down, but overall pretty good. A little bit of mid-range loss here, and pretty substantial lessening of bass at the top end. Again, that's the far right, and then this is the mid-left. As you can see, you know, pretty consistent measurements. It's not a huge deviation. The treble's still pretty good. I get a little bit of loss of treble here, and towards the left a little more than the far right for some reason. And this is the far left speaker. This is the far left speaker. This is the far right speaker. As you can see, the far left for some reason had a lot more loss in treble. It could just be my microphone placement that affected this, but as you can see, this is the far right, and there's about 3 dB less on the far left for some reason. I don't know why. I would assume that the results would be very similar, given that they're about the same distance away. It's pretty much as wide as home theaters go. A row of 5 seats is, I've never seen one with more than 5. It's a very good center channel speaker for, you know, like seat-to-seat consistency. And I took another measurement. So again, this is my center. And I also took a front row measurement, which is here. Obviously it's going to be louder. I took it at the same volume. Anthem's ARC room correction. Obviously it's going to do any adjustments necessary to get my main listening position seat to be as flat as possible. So obviously it's possible that these areas are boosted here just because, so in the front row there's obviously there's no seat that's blocking sound, so all this is going to be boosted. It's probably boosted because ARC needed to boost it in order for my back row to be nice and flat. And then I also took a near field measurement right here. Again, you know, if you look at it, it is pretty, I mean, the near field is pretty darn flat. So this is the near field measurement. As you can see, it's incredibly flat. So this is at about 1 meter away from the speaker at the same volume. And as you can see, it's obviously a little much louder, but that is pretty darn flat. Obviously, you got these peaks here again because ARC is probably, you know, ARC is probably boosting these areas because there's a bit of a lull here. Because once the sound gets to my rear seat, as you can see, it is still pretty nice and flat. And there's a bit of a valley here, so it's probably boosting this area in the near field in order for it to kind of like flatten this area out once it gets to my ears in the back row. I did these measurements with ARC 1, so you got to take these near field measurements with a grain of salt. But even with that, it's a pretty darn good frequency response. So I have a couple of thoughts about this center. So overall it's great. I think it's a very big, prominent speaker. So the one thing to keep in mind is that you need the space for this thing. This thing is enormous. When you stand it up on its side, like, it looks like a tower speaker. So the speaker is enormous. It takes up a lot of room. So you'd probably want to have like at least a 15-foot wide room to put this in. It looks really good in my 21-foot wide room. I guess one of the major differences as far as like the old model versus the new model is that the older model played a little lower. I think that's by design. I don't think Definitive Technology was trying to get this DM30 to play as low as the old one. But we're not talking a big difference. We're talking about like maybe 8 to 10 hertz lower. So this one can comfortably play up to about 38, 40 hertz, which is still pretty good, really good for center channel speaker. A lot of people would call that a full range center channel speaker. The old one would probably go to closer to 30 hertz, maybe 32 to 35 hertz, give or take. So it would play a little lower than this one. But again, I think the old CS9080 was meant more to be like almost uses as a subwoofer, like a secondary subwoofer. That's why it had the LFE input. I think that's why they designed it to play a little lower, even though they both have 8-inch subs. But I think the fact the old one had only one passive radiator, but it's a larger diameter passive radiator. This one has 2 passive radiators that are smaller. So that, I don't know if that can explain it. I don't design speakers for a living. I just listen to them. I took some measurements of both speakers. They're both pretty darn flat. I took measurements from each of the seats in my back row and noticed that there was very little fall off in treble, and the mid-range fell off a little bit here and there, but overall, you get a really good experience in all 5 of my seats in my back row, which in this particular theater is my main row, even though the front row is a really good row as well. But yeah, overall, I'm very happy with the purchase. I guess my one gripe with Definitive, and I don't understand why they did this, I was honestly expecting the bass to be at least as good as the old one, but then again, they rate the bass of the old one lower than this one. So they rate the bass of this one, I think, at 41 or 42 hertz, and it hits it right on the money. And the old one was rated at 24 hertz, and it falls short. I think they were probably more honest with the rating of the DM30, if anything. My biggest gripe about this speaker, and I guess it's a minor gripe, but it's still, I wish they hadn't done it. The speaker cloth material on it is like a charcoal. It's not like a black like the rest of my speakers in here. So it's off by like a shade. It's not like a perfect match, but again, you turn the lights off, you can't notice anything, it's fine. So I asked my wife about it, and it said, does that bother you? And she says it didn't bother her. So I was like, it doesn't bother me enough to replace it, and I really like the size of the speaker, and I think it looks really cool in this room. So other than that, I think it's a great upgrade, and the fact that I got it for I think $800 on accessoriesforless.com was the icing on the cake. So yeah, I can absolutely recommend the DM30. I could probably even recommend it at full MSRP. You get the full warranty. So, you know, it's a really good center channel speaker. And obviously, if you're buying the new DM90 like tower speakers that go along with this DM30, you know, it's like the perfect match. But yeah, if you have any questions about the DM30, feel free to leave them in the comments. It really helps a lot if you could like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.